Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we need to haul some books. Like I said, we've got some books to haul. There are about 12 here. No, not about. There are 12 books here that I need to share with you before I add them to my shelves. And I really wanted to add them to my shelves, so I'm going to tell you about them. There are a few different categories of where I got these books represented. One was just random, bought at Sam's Club when I was there one day. Some others are from a library book sale. I got some at an independent bookstore when I went with my friend. And actually, I've vlogged about mostly all of these book shopping trips that I've taken. So in the month of March, I vlogged the entire month. So most of these are from the month of March. And then lastly, I've got some book of the months to share with you. So let's just jump right in with this first one. We have Loathe to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. On the front, this says it is a STEMinist novella collection, including Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. So this one says on the back, Mara, Sadie, and Hannah are friends first, scientists always. Though their fields of study might take them to different corners of the world, they can all agree on this universal truth. When it comes to love and science, opposites attract, and rivals make you burn. Under One Roof. An environmental engineer discovers that scientists should never cohabitate when she finds herself stuck with the roommate from hell, a detestable big oil lawyer who won't leave the thermostat alone. Okay, I love me a good forced proximity romance. Stuck With You says a civil engineer and her nemesis take their rivalry and love to the next level when they get stuck in a New York elevator. Another forced proximity. Okay, and then Below Zero says a NASA aerospace engineer's frozen heart melts as she lies injured and stranded at a remote Arctic research station, and the only person willing to undertake the dangerous rescue mission is her longtime rival. That one sounds interesting. There's not really ever many thrillery aspects in Ali Hazelwood books, so that sounds fun. Ooh, there's an exclusive bonus chapter. I wonder for what book. Just bonus chapter. It doesn't say. Maybe about all of the girls. Anyway, Loathe to Love You. I love Ali Hazelwood. I gave The Love Hypothesis 5 stars. I gave Love on the Brain 3.5 stars, I think. And then I gave her new novel that's coming out in June, Love Theoretically. I gave Love Theoretically 5 stars. So I just love her romance. It's a great amount of steam. It's a good amount of character development. And yeah, I'm excited that I picked this one up. The next two I got at the Friends of the Library have a little book sale going on continually in the library. And so the next two I found at the library. This one is called The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I know Abby Jimenez. I read the something playlist. I'll put a picture right here. But I hadn't heard of this one. And so this one says, Kristen Peterson doesn't do drama, will fight to the death for her friends, and has no room in her life for guys who just don't get her. She's also keeping a big secret, facing a medically necessary procedure that will make it impossible for her to have children. Oh, okay. Planning her best friend's wedding is bittersweet for Kristen, especially when she meets the best man, Josh Copeland. He's funny, sexy, never offended by her mile-wide streak of sarcasm, and always one chicken enchilada ahead of her hangry. Even her dog, Stuntman Mike, adores him. The only catch? Josh wants a big family someday. Kristen knows he'd be better off with someone else, but as their attraction grows, it's harder and harder to keep him at arm's length. The Friend Zone will have you laughing one moment and grabbing for tissues the next, as it tackles the realities of infertility and loss with wit, heart, and a lot of sass. Wow, so this looks like it has obviously romance, but then some deeper subject matter, and so that sounds really good. That's The Friend Zone. Next, we've got a Catherine Center, another romance, and I read Catherine Center's The Bodyguard last year and loved it. I hadn't read anything from her before. So this is Happiness for Beginners. And this one says, Helen Carpenter can't quite seem to bounce back. Newly divorced at 32, her life has fallen apart beyond her ability to put it together again. So when her annoying younger brother, Duncan, convinces her to sign up for a hardcore wilderness survival course in the backwoods of Wyoming, she hopes it'll be exactly what she needs. Instead, it's a disaster. It's nothing like what she wants or expects or anticipates. She doesn't anticipate the surprise summer blizzard, for example, or the blisters, or the rutting elk, or the mean pack of sorority girls. And she especially doesn't anticipate that her annoying brother's even more annoying best friend, Jake, will show up for the exact same course and distract her, derail her, and kiss her. But it turns out sometimes disaster can teach you exactly the things you need to learn, like how to keep going even when you think you can't, how being scared can make you brave, and how sometimes getting really, really lost is your only hope of getting found. Well, that's cheesy. Happiness for Beginners is Catherine Center at her most heartwarming, captivating best, a nourishing, page-turning, up-all-night read about how to get back up. It's a story that looks at how our struggles lead us to our strengths, how love is always worth it, and how the more good things we look for, the more we find. A little bit of a cheesy synopsis, if you ask me, but still sounds good. Wow, and it says it's coming to Netflix. Wonder if it's a movie? I don't know. Sounds good. Okay, the next 4 I got at the library book sale. They do a book sale probably every month, and it's amazing. And I plan on going to the next library book sale. But I'm really trying to limit myself at how much I buy and make sure it's books that I actually want on my shelves. So 2 of them I have actually already read, but I definitely wanted for my collection. I got Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga. This was a book that I read for middle grade March, mostly because Jasmine Warga wrote the group read, A Rover Story, but then I picked up her other 2 novels and really, really loved Other Words for Home. This one is about a young girl named Judah who leaves Syria with her mother to kind of escape some turmoil. Not kind of, she does escape some turmoil with her mother, and they wind up in Ohio or Michigan, somewhere around there in the United States, and she basically goes about her life as a Syrian girl in the United States. And she sees a lot of Islamophobia and prejudice against her based on the fact that she is Syrian, and also because she starts wearing a hijab. She becomes a woman during this novel, and she gets a lot of prejudice and racism against her because of that. So it is just a really great coming of age story for Judah, and some fun aspects too about her life in a new country and how she embraces it. The other book that I got that I had already read was Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, and I didn't realize how huge this book is. I knew it was like 600 pages, but it's just a big book, and I'm so glad I have it on my shelves. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I raved and ranted about it in my January wrap-up. I'll put that video up above in the cards. I absolutely loved this book. Anthony Doerr has a way of creating such wonderful characters that you start to care for, but you don't see how the characters make sense together. You're like, why are we learning about a person in the 1400s and then a person in 2050 and someone in present day 2020 or whenever this was written? Why are we learning about all these 3 characters? I really like all these characters, but what do they have in common? And then he weaves them together, and it's just such phenomenal writing and immaculate storytelling. This is such a great book. If I haven't convinced you here, go watch my other video to convince you further, but it is a really great book, and I'm so happy that I own it now. The next 2 at the library sale I haven't read, but I have read from the author, and so I really wanted to give these ones a try. This one is Grunt by Mary Roach. Mary Roach writes nonfiction about kind of bizarre but interesting topics. So the one I've read is called Bonk, and that one is about sex. This one is about the science of humans at war. So let's read what it says. Grunt tackles the science behind some of a soldier's most challenging adversaries: panic, exhaustion, heat, noise, and introduces us to the scientists who seek to conquer them. Mary Roach dodges hostile fire with the U.S. Marine Corps paintball team as part of a study on hearing loss and survivability in combat. She visits the fashion design studio of U.S. Army Natick Labs and learns why a zipper is a problem for a sniper. She visits a repurposed movie studio where amputee actors help prepare Marine Corps medics for the shock and gore of combat wounds. At Camp Lemonnier, Djibouti, in East Africa, we learn how diarrhea can be a threat to national security. The author samples caffeinated meat, sniffs an archival sample of a World War II stink bomb, and stays up all night with the crew tending the missiles on the nuclear submarine USS Tennessee. She answers questions not found in any other book on the military. Why is DARPA interested in ducks? DARPA. Sorry, I obviously need to learn. How is a wedding gown like a bomb suit? Why are shrimp more dangerous to sailors than sharks? Take a tour of duty with Roach, and you'll never see our nation's defenders in the same way again. I think that just sounds so interesting, and I'm very looking forward to reading this sometime soon. And then the other author I've read from is Gabrielle Zevin. This is Young Jane Young, but I have read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This author also wrote The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, which I would like to read. So when I saw this, I had to give it a try. This one says, Aviva Grossman, an ambitious congressional intern in Florida, makes the mistake of having an affair with her married boss. Ooh. That's maybe already a turnoff. I don't necessarily like cheating, but okay. When the affair comes to light, the popular congressman doesn't like the fall, but Aviva does, and her life is over before it hardly begins. Slut-shamed, she becomes a late-night talk show punchline, anathema to politics. She sees no way out but to change her name and move to a remote town in Maine. This time, she tries to be smarter about her life and strives to raise her daughter, Ruby, to be strong and confident. But when, at the urging of others, Aviva decides to run for public office, that long-ago mistake trails her via the internet and catches up. An inescapable Scarlet A. In the digital age, the past is never ever truly past, and it's only a matter of time until Ruby finds out who her mother was and is forced to reconcile that person with the one she knows. Young Jane Young is a smart, funny, serious, and moving novel about the myriad ways in which roles are still circumscribed for women, whether they are young and ambitious interns, mothers attempting to steer their daughters through a male-dominated world, political wives facing an age-old knowledge that fidelity isn't always honored, or young girls feeling bold about their many choices before they realize the gender restrictions all around them. Gabrielle Zevin captures not only the double standards alive and well in every aspect of life for women, but also the mood of our recent highly charged political season. Okay, that sounds good. I was a little nervous by the beginning there with an affair, but it sounds like we follow the female who wasn't necessarily a part of the cheating. So yeah, sounds good. It sounds like it definitely covers some serious topics about what is going on today in the political world and in women's lives, which I'm a woman, love to read about it. So sounds good. Cool. Thanks, Gabrielle Zevin. Okay, the next three, I've actually read two of the three, but I got these at a local independent bookstore. I love to support them, and two of them are to add to my Kristen Hannah collection right back here, which I'm very excited to add them. So the first Kristen Hannah that I'm adding is Winter Garden, and this is maybe my favorite of Kristen Hannah. I think it's either between this one and The Nightingale, which I don't own, people. Crazy. I need to get me a copy of The Nightingale. Anyway, Winter Garden follows two sisters after their father has died. No. Either their mother or father has died. Wow, I obviously need to reread this. No, okay, I remember. Their father has died, and they come together to take care of their mother. She is elderly and needs their help. And they hear their mother's story. Their mother has always been really short with them and doesn't show much affection. And then we learn why. And it's just so powerful. And I remember exactly where I was when I finished this book, and I just sobbed. It's so sad, and such a great story of love and grief and how we have to learn how to get past things, but then also we never really get past them. They are ingrained in us and stuck with us forever. And it's also a really good look on World War II from a different perspective. I feel like we always get World War II novels based in Germany, in France, in England, even in the US, but we don't necessarily see it from Russia. And so that is the World War II historical fiction part of this book. And I absolutely love it. I'm so glad I own it. The next Kristen Hanna I got is The Great Alone, and this might be number 3. No, probably number 4 in my Kristen Hannas. I need to do a Kristen Hanna tier ranking because I have read almost all of them, and I think it would be a fun thing to do. But The Great Alone is about a young girl who lives in Alaska with her parents, and they are roughing it in the middle of nowhere, and her father is quite abusive to her, and she needs to try to escape that. She finds love, she finds acceptance in who she is, and really, really good. Can I remember it fully, completely? Maybe not, but I remember really loving it. And so another Kristen Hanna goes to my shelves. Hoorah! Okay, and the last one I got at this local independent bookstore is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I haven't read anything by Maggie O'Farrell, but I really want to. There are many on my Goodreads TBR that I want to read, and when I saw this used and for fairly cheap, $9.95, I decided to pick it up. This one says, England, 1580. The Black Death creeps across the land, an ominous threat infecting the healthy, the sick, the old, and the young alike. The end of days is near, but life always goes on. A young Latin tutor, penniless and bullied by a violent father, falls in love with an extraordinary, eccentric young woman. Agnes is a wild creature who walks her family's land with a falcon on her glove and is known throughout the countryside for her unusual gifts as a healer, understanding plants and potions better than she does people. Once she settles with her husband on Henley Street on Stratford upon Avon, she becomes a fiercely protective mother and a steadfast centrifugal force. Centrifugal force in the life of her young husband, whose career on the London stage is just taking off when his beloved young son succumbs to sudden fever. So this is about Shakespeare's wife. Am I right? I think I'm right. And Shakespeare's son, I think. His name is Hamnet. Anyway, I know that this has been a lot of people's favorites. I know Anne Bogle, who has a podcast called What Should I Read Next? And she's also called Modern Mrs. Darcy on the internet. This is one of her favorites, I think, from a couple years ago. And I also know that Noelle Gallagher on YouTube really likes this book as well. So I'm looking forward to it. The last 2 books on this haul are my March and April Book of the Month books. So in March, I got Wayward by Amelia Hart, and in April, I got Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. Okay. Wayward sounds like a really cool historical magical realism book. So this one says, I am a wayward and wild inside. 2019. Under cover of darkness, Kate flees London for ramshackle Wayward Cottage, inherited from a great aunt she barely remembers. With its tumbling ivy and overgrown garden, the cottage is worlds away from the abusive partner who tormented Kate. But she soon suspects that her great aunt had a secret, one that lurks in the bones of the cottage, hidden ever since the witch hunts of the 17th century. 1619. Altha is awaiting trial for the murder of a local farmer who was stampeded to death by his herd. When Altha was a girl, her mother taught her their magic, a kind not rooted in spell casting, but in a deep knowledge of the natural world. But unusual women have always been deemed dangerous, and as the evidence of witchcraft is laid out against Altha, she knows it will take all her powers to maintain her freedom. 1942. As World War II rages, Violet is trapped in her family's grand, crumbling estate. Straitjacketed by societal convention, she longs for the robust education her brother receives, and for her mother, long deceased, who was rumored to have gone mad before her death. The only traces Violet has of her are a locket bearing the initial W and the word Wayward scratched into the baseboard of her bedroom. Weaving together the stories of 3 extraordinary women across 5 centuries, Wayward is an astonishing debut and an enthralling novel of female resilience. That sounds way good. I haven't seen anybody that has read this yet, but I'm excited. Okay, and then I got a romantic comedy called Romantic Comedy. This one sounded like Saturday Night Live and romance, and so that sounded great and amazing. This one says, a comedy writer thinks she's sworn off love until a dreamy pop star flips the script on all her assumptions. A hilarious, observant, and deeply tender novel from the best-selling author of Eligible, Rodham, and Prep. Okay, so I haven't read any of those by Curtis Sittenfeld. Let's continue. Sally Mills is a sketch writer for The Night Owls, a late-night live comedy show that airs every Saturday Night Live. With a couple of heartbreaks under her belt, she's long abandoned the search for love, settling instead for the occasional hookup, career success, and a close relationship with her stepfather to round out a satisfying life. But when Sally's friend and fellow writer Danny Horst begins dating Annabelle, a glamorous actress who guest hosted the show, he joins the not-so-exclusive group of talented but average-looking and even dorky men at the show, and in society at large, who've gotten romantically involved with incredibly beautiful and accomplished women. Sally channels her annoyance into a sketch called The Danny Horst Rule, poking fun at this phenomenon while underscoring how unlikely it is that the reverse would ever happen for a woman. Enter Noah Brewster, a pop music sensation with a reputation for dating models, who signed on as both host and musical guest for this week's show. Dazzled by his charms, Sally hits it off with Noah instantly, and as they collaborate on one sketch after another, she begins to wonder if there might actually be sparks flying. But this isn't a romantic comedy, it's real life. And in real life, someone like him would never date someone like her, right? With her keen observations and trademark ability to bring complex women to life on the page, Curtis Sittenfeld explores the neurosis-inducing and heart-fluttering wonder of love, while slyly dissecting the social rituals of romance and gender relations in the modern age. Well, that sounds fun. I'm excited to get to this one. It sounds funny, it sounds poignant, and should be exciting. So those are the 12 books I've hauled within the last month and a half-ish. Let me know if you have read any of them and what you thought of them. Are there any I should prioritize over the others? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Like this video on your way out. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more bookish and bullet journaling content from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!